What's up? It's Dawn, the Self-Esteem Queen, and this is a review for Preachers of LA, Season 1, Episode 3, and I hope that you have your hat and your tea.
Yeah, this for the West Coast. Let me clear my throat. We're gonna drop it like this. Yeah.
Okay, so this episode starts out with us seeing a little preaching from Pastor Cheney. That is, the saved and sexual guy. Dietrich Haddon, that's the one that is not married but has a child but is engaged. And Bishop McClendon, the one that some of you people are being a little harsh on, and I don't really know about that. But anyway, we show all three of them preaching. And let me say this. All right. People have such horrible things to say about pastors who are prosperity preachers, and they preach about getting money, and then they also get money and they show you how they get money, right? But you have a motivational speaker like Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins owns his own island in Fiji, okay? He owns his own island. And he makes people walk across hot coals. And he lives a very lavish lifestyle, and nobody is talking bad about him. Why is that? He's a motivational speaker, and because you know that these three men are human too, for all intents and purposes, you can see them as motivational speakers too. So as we begin to sort of reveal that, humans are not perfect and things like that, pastors, bishops, ministers included, I'd like you to look at the lifestyle of a regular motivational speaker and see how they live. Like somebody asked me, if I had their money, would I be living extravagant like them? I was a self-made millionaire at 23 years old. I know what it's like to have money. I also know what it's like to give back. And when I became a millionaire at 23, I spent 10 years rescuing teenage prostitutes all over Los Angeles and across the United States. So we didn't have a reality show genre back then. People weren't following me around with cameras, and I was out saving the world. I didn't need cameras for that. Don't need cameras for it now. They're choosing to have you come in and see the gifts that they give. Look into the gifts that they're giving in the show instead of looking at them as humans who are fleshly, who make mistakes and are imperfect. Can we do that? So then it goes to Pastor Cheney. And his wife is throwing a tea party. It's going to be the first tea party that she throws. And so she's asking him, for his input, who she should invite. She's wondering if she should invite Loretta, because Loretta is the friend that is a girl of Bishop Noel Jones. And, is it me? Or is Noel Jones not defining his relationship so that he doesn't have to go through what Dietrich Haddon is going through? Because it seems to me, and I would ask the question straight out if I ever met Loretta, do you guys sleep together? Right? The same way that Bishop Gibson is asking, Dietrich, does he and Dominique live together? I would ask, do you sleep together? You guys are friends, do you have benefits? Because I heard he was with this person, and I heard that Bishop Jones was with that person, and now all of a sudden this person is on the show. Why didn't Lisa Ray make it on the show? Maybe they weren't paying her enough money. Maybe she's a real actress and she didn't want to act it up. Maybe it would have been too theatrical with her on the show. Who knows? But I had never heard of Loretta, and now all of a sudden here she is. But when the show was first promoted months and months ago, it was Lisa Ray that was supposed to be on the show. So because this is information that was already public knowledge, and because this is something that I already know, I would really, ask for all the people that are bashing Dietrich Haddon, why are you not doing the same thing to Noel Jones? Because you can't tell me that he's friends with somebody for 16 years and they're not sleeping together. They're not having sexual relations. And if they're not, then paint me green and call me. Here's the shade. Let me sip my tea. The shade is, what does her having experience with being a first lady have to do with her having a tea party? Has she had tea parties? Does she have tea party success? What does one thing have to do with another? I don't know. It goes to Gangsta Gibson. And Gangsta Gibson is taking the OG Pyru from the very, what was that? From episode 1 downtown to get some church shoes, because he feels like if he's going to go to church, he should dress like he should be in church so that he's not categorized and singled out. And so he's teaching him how to walk. Man, I love that Bishop Gibson. I sure do. I really, really do. And I also love how when they pulled up, you saw that he still had, spinners on his rims. Like, nobody does that anymore. Nobody except gangsters. So ex-Pyru and Biggie are in the shoe shop, and they're teaching, the ex-Pyru how to walk. And Bishop Gibson is basically saying that he wants to be like a big brother to them and sort of show them the way. And then I love how when he's taking them back, he's, basically telling him, I'm going to find you a church in Compton to go to that'll nurture you. So that kind of dispels the myth that, some pastors want people to come to their church only so they can give all their money to that church only. No, Bishop Gibson's church is in Riverside, and he is making sure that he has a church home for the people that he's ministering to in Compton. That doesn't directly benefit him if they're not coming to his church and they're not giving and they're not tithing into his church, right? So you have to look at that and you have to say to yourself, is he really helping to make a difference? And I know you guys are going to be ready for this next Gangsta Gibson-ism. He said, you can take the man out the hood, and you can take the hood out the man. I love this dude and all his cliches. I do kind of live for him. I love him. Like, I don't know if you guys know how important it is that, he's like being like a big brother to a Pyru, which if you're not from Los Angeles, that's a blood, and he's a Crip. Like, that's huge, really huge. If it's really authentic, that's really huge. And I don't think somebody would come on TV like that and sign releases. Scene goes to Pastor Jay and his wife, Christy, and they're walking in the park, and she's basically talking about how he works all the time, so sometimes she has to pull him away. And during their conversation, she's basically saying that she's had a hard time finding a good girlfriend who can't see past the prejudgment of seeing her as a pastor's wife. And she's hoping that at the T, she can find some authentic friendships that she'll be able to build with other women who sort of feel what she's going through. So then they are walking and they see a woman who's really frail with a beautiful dog, and Pastor Jay decides he wants to go minister to her. So he goes up to her, finds out her name is DJ. I mean, she's frail, like bone thin. You find out she's 50 and she has like panic and anxiety attacks. And he tells her that he'd love to, pray for her. And I cried like a baby, as I did last week when he was talking to David. And it just really, first of all, my initials are DJ. I have seizures, and I've had seizures since 2005 due to severe anxiety and panic attacks. I totally felt empathetic for her, and I could feel the spirit. Every time he's like ministering to someone, I don't feel like it's something far-fetched or staged, or like, it feels so authentic to me, because that's how it feels when someone's really a man of God or a woman of God, and they can just go and heal. They don't have to be in their church house. They don't have to wait for people to come to them. They go out and they seek, and then they serve, and then they send those to go seek and serve other people. That's what ministry is all about. And Jay and Pastor and Bishop Gibson, they're all about ministry, and I love both of them. You can't tell me nothing bad about either one of them. I wouldn't believe you. I love how God uses their past, everything that they've been through, PCP, almost drug overdose. Pastor Jay lost everything, and now they needed that experience in order to minister to the people that they're seeking to heal. I love it. Absolutely love it. I wouldn't have been a teen prostitute had God not wanted me to go out and rescue teen prostitutes for 10 years. I'm blessed. I'm blessed for every cut, every scar, every mental, emotional wound, because as I healed from them, I now heal other people from them, and that is what ministry is all about. And if I choose to drive a BMW, that's what I choose. Ministry is ministry. Material things are material things. And what people choose to do with their money is not my business. We go to Pastor Cheney's wife, Gibson's wife, and they're talking, and Bishop Gibson's wife is basically saying, you know, a girlfriend and a first lady are like oil and water. They don't mix, because a girlfriend doesn't know the standards of which a first lady has to uphold and things like that. Now here's the shade. Let me sip my tea. First you get advice from your husband. Then you go and get advice from Bishop Gibson's wife. And you say, you know, you make it seem like you regard her advice so much because of all of her experience, yet the shade of it all is that you don't even end up taking her advice, and you say to yourself, well, I'm going to invite Loretta anyway. So you know that that's, you know, a situation for destruction, and it makes me believe that you're a little messy. Then it cuts to Dietrich and Dominique, and they're talking about the tea party, and basically this part to me of their relationship seemed real. He basically, you know, says to her, like, who has tea parties? Like, where are we, the South? And, you know, he says that, you know, at these tea parties, they wear big hats and the parties are stuffy. And Dominique says she's a, you know, new school first lady. And, you know, my thing is, she mentions that Loretta is coming, and then Dietrich has questions. I have questions too. You know, his question is, you know, what's their relationship? You know what I'm saying? Are they business partners? Are they lovers? You know, what's really going on? You know, since people want to grill him on what he has going on, even though it's kind of public knowledge because she got pregnant and had a child, you know, we want to know, you know, what's his situation? As I said earlier, a lot of people, you know, are looking at it like, okay, you're judging Dietrich because he, you know, had a baby out of wedlock. But the bigger picture is that he didn't abstain from sex. And you telling me that Noel Jones is abstaining from sex from all of these women that he's friends with? I think that people judge Dietrich, and I think that, you know, he is a little over the top and he is very outspoken, but I get him just like I get Gangsta Gibson and Pastor J. I get him. I just don't understand why, if you really, like, there's a fine line between pleasing the people in your church or these, you know, like, you're never going to be able to please the people that are not pleased that you didn't abstain and that you know, fornicated and that you committed adultery. Like, there are people that are never going to be pleased no matter who you're with, no matter what you do, no matter if you get married, no matter if you guys stay married for 20 years, there are people that are still going to say, yeah, but he. So instead of trying to please them, you know, I would elope. But since this is your second marriage and you're kind of over the big whole marriage thing, it just leads me to wonder what really is going on. However, I get you, Dietrich. Then it goes back to Gangsta Gibson, and now he's in the hood at Chambers, which is a shoe shine place, and, you know, he's telling Rick, the ex-Pyru, and his friend Biggie, that's what I'll call him. He's telling him, you know, you have to get your shoes shined, and, you know, you have to look, you know, good for church, you know, whatever. And he basically won over Rick's friend, and his friend was saying, you know, wow, in just a few hours of love that you've shown me, you know, I've never really had love shown to me like that. And, you know, if this is what, you know, God produces, and I'm like, you know, this is amazing. And of course, we have another Gangsta Gibson-ism. He said, you go back to the neighborhood you used to terrorize and you evangelize. Everything he says, like, I'm going to use these things. I don't know what I'm going to use them in, but then it goes back to Loretta and Bishop Jones, and they're basically talking about the restaurant, and she's telling him that he needs to do more, even though he's just supposed to be an investor. I don't know what that's all about because the editing doesn't tell really the backstory of that. Then they get on the conversation of the tea party, and Bishop Jones is he pretty much feels some kind of way because she was invited anyway, because if it's a tea party for First Lady, she's not a First Lady, and she's not even categorically his girlfriend. So he already feels some kind of way about her even being invited to this event, and he tells her, so it's going to be first ladies and then you're going to be the victim because they're going to devour you. She basically says, no, that's not going to happen. And he says, well, I say go, and when you get tired of being grilled, let them know that it's none of their business. So again, I bring up the point. They have something, whatever it is, and he's clear to not define it, either because he's been in this game long enough to know that it gets judged, or because he's dating, and because dating is something that people are clearly uncomfortable with in the Christian church. Like, how does a pastor even get to the point where he wants to be engaged? He has to date first, right? I think so. He has to date first. So if he has to date first, then why can't pastors date numerous women? Can they date and not have sex? Is sex part of dating? These are all questions that are in my mind, and the reality is that different pastors have different answers to these questions. Then it goes back to Bishop Gibson. He's basically dropping Rick and his friend back off in Compton, and he prays with them. It feels sincere to me. It feels real, and can't tell me nothing bad about that gangster Gibson.
See walk, homie. See walk, homie.
Okay, so then we cut to Dominique, and the gist of this scene is that she's having a conversation with her mother, and she's basically saying that she feels like a single mom because she doesn't live with Dietrich, and that he pops in and out because he's so busy, and so it makes it really difficult for her. And her mom is basically telling her, you guys can't shack up. And my thing is this: one, you choose to not live with him. You guys already have a kid together. You guys are doing this to please other people who will probably not even be pleased whether you live together or not, and really shouldn't be in your business. And the only reason why they're in your business is because you popped up pregnant. And so you're doing this to please people. Number two, and most important, when you guys get married, his work is not going to slow down. You're still going to have to pack a bag if you want to go with him places. And why can't you do that right now? You're packing a bag to go with him to spend the day if he's at the studio or if he's wherever he is, right? Your daughter is not old enough to be in like preschool, so you have to be with her anyway. So what would be the difference if you guys were married versus now? Just a question. Now, in this scene, you can see clearly where her and Dietrich connect, because they both clearly feel like they're living in the New Testament and everybody else is living in the ancient Old Testament. Although, I don't care how long you've been a Christian, abstaining and fornicating are two things that have always been the same, whether it was 50 years ago or now. So then she's, telling her mom, if he was just nobody, it wouldn't matter. But because I'm married to a gospel superstar, it matters.
Yeah,
no,
it's for
boo.
the West Coast.
Here's the situation.
Let me clear my
You decided
We're gonna drop
that
it like this.
when you were dating the gospel superstar that was still married to somebody else, it doesn't matter who cheated on who, they were still actually married. You decided that you were going to refrain from abstaining from sex, have premarital sex, and because that became public when you became pregnant, people knew that you were fornicating, and therefore, whether you're married or not, that stench of fornication and adultery ain't gonna wear off. That's just the reality, because Christians judge people too. Going to church doesn't make you stop judging people. That's a personal choice. People are going to judge you. All these things that you're doing so that people can look at you better, or so that you can get a better response from people, I guarantee you, they're not going to work. People are still going to snicker, and they're still going to say what they want to say. And the same people who are judging you probably have kids out of wedlock too, honey. So, the 4 agreements, don't take it personal. That's one of them. I wouldn't take it personal. So then it's the day of the tea party, and I'm definitely with Dietrich, who still does stuff like this. I don't know. I would like rules of engagement. And part of that is that you have to wear a hat and you have to wear gloves. And clearly we already know that Dominique is not going to wear either. And so she's, new school, and this is old school. And so there definitely is going to be an issue there. And my question then would be, did everybody get the dress code for tea party, seeing as though that she's new to the First Wives Club and she probably has no idea? Like, was she supposed to already know that, even though we know she already knows? Even though we know she already knows, like, does she know because it was on the invitation and she just chose not to come to in a hat and gloves to be rebellious? Or, like, some of this editing leaves things for one to question. Okay, so this whole party is filled with shade, this whole tea party. And, for me, my main question was, how is it that the two women who were not first ladies knew everybody on the roster to come to this high tea, yet Maisha went to Bishop Gibson's wife for advice, and during the tea she said, well, I don't know everybody that's going to be here. How did you not know but these two knew? That don't make sense to me. Why would you not tell her, oh yeah, I decided to invite so-and-so anyway? Why would you not tell her before she got there, yeah, I didn't take your advice even though I came to you and thought your advice was all well and all knowing. I didn't take it and I invited so-and-so. You know what I mean? Like, the shade of it all.
West Coast. Let me clear my throat. We're gonna drop it like this.
So the shade of it all is that Maisha says that she hopes that they can dig deep and get to the heart of these women so that they can get some healing and some help. And I had two questions. Why is it they versus them? It seemed like you want to get to the heart of and in the business of the two women that are not yet married. And what do they need to be healed from? Like, from what? I mean, there's so much shade there. And then during the tea, she kept making comments about, yeah, because first ladies this and first ladies that, knowing that you had two women there that are not even first ladies. Like, there was so much shade that it was ridiculous as far as I'm concerned. It didn't make sense to, if you were going to make sure that the table settings were perfect and you wanted to make sure that it looked great aesthetically, how come you didn't ask the Lord to tame your tongue when you kept mentioning first ladies when you knew two women there were not first ladies and one of them wasn't even a girlfriend? So then they get on Loretta, which is what you saw in the previews about, is she looking to be married or not? And she basically stands her ground. I like that about her. She basically stands her ground, and she's not going to give them too much information because she knows who butters her bread, meaning, if she's sleeping with the dude or if she's friends with the dude, she's going to make sure that she maintains their secrecy so that he's not prejudged and she's not prejudged and people can just assume what they want to assume. So she pretty much can stick up for herself. This Dominique, on the other hand, I don't know all about her because Bishop Gibson's wife pulls her to the side and all of a sudden they're talking about living together again. And my thing is, if we already settled this in the last episode when you guys went to dinner and Dietrich said before the record, we're not living together, why are we replaying that old VHS tape now at the tea party? And instead of Dominique saying, well, remember, at the dinner we said that, we weren't living together. Instead of her saying that, she says, well, I feel like we're already married because when a man enters a woman, honey. Then Bishop Gibson's wife stops her and sternly says, no, baby, that's called fornication. Yeah, that's what that's called. And we're not going to even get into the whole, it's also called adultery. Because it's not about judgment, it's just about truth. And that is truth. That's the truth. But I feel like Bishop Gibson's wife overstepped her boundary because as a mentor, I don't mentor people that don't want to be mentored. So I think she was sort of out of place. And I feel like I would have sort of politely checked her, not in a rude or disrespectful way, but I would have politely checked her because people like that. There's a fine line between mentoring and then trying to push your beliefs on somebody, and if they don't take your beliefs, then you get mad at them and you start judging them or you start treating them different. That's not what mentoring is all about. You can mentor in love and you can keep all the shade. Then it cuts to Maisha and Jay's wife sort of bonding over shopping, and then in another small part, it cuts to Bishop Gibson and his wife talking about the tea party. He wishes he could have been a fly on the wall. And he basically says that they talk about Loretta being there. And he says that he wants to go to Bishop Jones and ask him about his relationship. Now, he and his wife, they go there, but that's what gangsters do. He goes there. He's what we would call a confrontational Christian. And there is a such thing, actually. And he says that he wants to go talk to him about this relationship that he has. What is it? What is the definition of it? And I'm sure he's not going to get an answer because Bishop Jones ain't giving no answers. Oh, no, no, no. Then the final scene is Dietrich and Dominique, and they are meeting with their wedding planner at their wedding. Then an argument ensues when they're trying to decide where Dietrich wants to have the band. Now, first he says that he just wants to be a fly on the wall and he doesn't want to have anything to do with the wedding planning. He's had one of these already, a wedding that is, and it didn't work out, and so he's not, really interested in, helping to plan this one. It's all her. But then when they get to the venue, he's like, well, yeah, I want my whole band here and this and that and this and that. Really being a Devo, really. And I just don't. So he and his fiance start arguing right there in front of the wedding planner. If I had pearls on, I'd clutch them. I only have 3 questions. 1, why are you guys arguing in front of these people? 2, why aren't you guys in premarital counseling? Like, seriously, why are you not in premarital counseling? 3, is this how engaged folks who are in love really act? Like, Dietrich, it seems like you're always chastising Dominique when it shouldn't even be that way. You guys should be speaking to each other as equals, and you don't really speak to her as an equal. And if it were me, and I were doing interviews telling everybody how I'm a producer on the show, and my son agrees. And that too. If you're talking about how you're a producer on the show, why are you allowing them to paint you in such a negative light, brother? Because you're not looking too good right now. At all. If it were me, I would not allow these tumultuous moments to become my storyline for these episodes. It doesn't make him look good. It doesn't make the whole situation look good. And I'm not even gonna really touch on the pictures of the penis that were passed to me via email, because I'm reviewing the show based on what's on the show right now. I'm sure that adultery is adultery, and he's not the only person that takes penis pics and all of that. But bruh, you're not looking too good, bruh. Like, you're just not looking too good, bruh. I don't know, bruh. I'm just gonna sip my tea.
See, walk, homie.